Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 18th of January. India reports over 238,000 new COVID-19 infections, active cases highest in 230 days. Pakistan says trial of Chinese traditional medicine for COVID-19 successful. And Sri Lanka looking to attract forex through new policies. And now for all the details, India on Tuesday recorded 238,018 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours, taking the current active case load to 1.73 million, the highest in 230 days. Noting that COVID testing has declined in many states and union territories, the Health Ministry has urged authorities to speed up the testing to efficiently track the spread of the virus and initiate actions quickly.
India on Tuesday recorded 238,018 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours, taking the current active case load to 1.73 million, the highest in 230 days. Noting that COVID testing has declined in many states and union territories, the Health Ministry on Tuesday urged authorities to speed up testing to efficiently track the virus spread and initiate actions quickly. This came after testing of asymptomatic persons on demand and low-risk contacts were curbed as per previous guidelines. Though hospitalizations are low amid the Omicron-driven surge, health experts have warned against defying of protocols.
Now for last 3 days we are seeing there's a decline and a sharp decline in the number of cases, and we welcome this and we are happy that it's coming down, but at the same time a word of caution. Don't make it, yes, it's coming down and we become complacent and we start roaming around. That's not the thing.
Meanwhile, traders in capital New Delhi, Sadar Bazaar area held a protest against the imposition of the odd-even rule, weekend curfew and night curfew, all at the same time. They said amid such restrictions, they only stare at an uncertain future.
जिस प्रकार पहले सरकार ने किया ये नाइट कर्फ्यू, उसके बाद कर दिया ये ऑड एंड इवन, फिर वीकेंड के 2 कर्फ्यू करती है भाई, 2 सैटरडे संडे मार्केट बंद रहेंगी। अब ये बताओ जिसकी 10 दिन महीने में दुकान खुलेगी या 8 दिन खुलेगी, वो खर्चे कैसे निकालेगा? आज हालत ये हो चुके हैं व्यापारी के लिए, व्यापारी को ये नहीं समझ आ रहा कि वो किस हालात में खड़ा है।
Meanwhile, the Health Ministry on Tuesday said that over 5 million healthcare and frontline workers and citizens aged 60 years and above have been administered the booster dose of COVID-19 vaccine since January 10. India has fully vaccinated about 70% of its 939 million adults and hopes to give the primary 2 doses of another 70 million or so teenagers by next month.
And as Pakistan enters a fifth wave of the pandemic driven by the Omicron variant, health authorities have announced the completion of a successful clinical trial of Chinese traditional herbal medicine for treating COVID-19. Meanwhile, Pakistan detected 5,034 new coronavirus cases on Tuesday, up 16% from Monday and marking the highest daily caseload since August 8th.
Pakistani health authorities on Monday announced the completion of a successful clinical trial of Chinese traditional herbal medicine for treating COVID-19 as the South Asian nation enters the fifth wave of the pandemic driven by the highly infectious Omicron variant. The Chinese medicine Jinhua Xinjiang Granules GHQG, manufactured by Jixichang Pharmaceutical Co. Limited, is already being used in treatment of COVID-19 patients in China. The trials were conducted at the International Center for Chemical and Biological Science, ICCBS.
ये क्योंकि बुनियादी तौर पे कोविड-19 के तमाम पेशेंट्स पे जो ट्राई किया गया था वो डिफरेंट वेरिएंट्स के थे, तो हमारा ख्याल ये है कि ये उतनी इफेक्टिव होगी जितने बाकी वेरिएंट्स पे भी है.
The trials were conducted on 300 patients who were treated at home and would work on mild to moderate COVID-19 cases. Dr. Raza Shah, principal investigator in the trials, told reporters, adding that the efficacy rate was around 82.67%. The trials were approved by the Drug Regulatory Authority, Pakistan. Meanwhile, Pakistan detected 5,034 new coronavirus cases on Tuesday, up 16% from Monday and marking the highest daily case load Since August 8, the country's positivity rate has risen to 9.5%.
And moving on, a massive rally was held by political activists in Sindh marking 118th birth anniversary of Sindhi nationalist leader GM Syed and raising anti-China slogans. Several Sindh nationalist parties took out rallies calling for Pakistan and China to stop exploiting their resources.
Defying all restrictions, a massive protest was organized by political activists and people of Sindh to mark the 118th birth anniversary of veteran Sindh nationalist leader GM Syed in Sandtown of Pakistan's Sindh province on Monday. The activists of JSMM, the Jai Sindh Muttahida Mahaz, carried banners asking the United Nations to fulfill their demand for freedom from Pakistan. They also called for Pakistan and China to stop exploiting their resources. The banners read, United Nations, Pakistan is a terrorist state. Sindhi nation wants freedom of Sindhu Desh and no China go China. JSMM chairman Shafi Burfat, who lives in exile in Germany, said that the United Nations and the international community have been urged to immediately stop China from building any construction project on the coast of Sindh and end its occupation of the Sindh coast.
कल साईं GM सैयद जो हमारे फिक्री रहनुमा हैं सिंध की कौमी तहरीक के सिंधु देश मूवमेंट के, उनकी सालगिरह का दिन था और हमारी पार्टी GSM मुत्तहिदा महाज ने कल सन शहर में एक बहुत बड़ी रैली निकाली है, सियासी रैली जिसमें हज़ारों की तादाद में सिंध के लोगों ने शिरकत की है। हमारी रैली का मकसद ये था कि चाइना की तरफ से सिंध के साहिली जज़ायर कोस्टल जो हमारे आइसलैंड्स हैं उस पर चाइना ने अपनी कंस्ट्रक्शन करना शुरू की है। चीन वहां पर अपनी नेवल बेस बना रहा है।
There are several nationalist parties in Sindh who advocate for a free Sindh nation, calling Pakistan an occupier that continues to exploit their resources. They accuse Pakistan of atrocities against innocent Sindhis for raising their voices.
And Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa told Parliament on Tuesday his country will introduce new laws to attract investments over the next 3 years, while policies to develop exports, tourism and remittances will be fast-tracked in a bid to rebuild foreign exchange reserves.
Sri Lanka will introduce new laws to attract investments over the next 3 years, while policies to develop exports, tourism and remittances will be fast-tracked in a bid to rebuild foreign exchange reserves, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said on Tuesday. In his speech to Parliament, Rajapaksa also said a debilitating shortage of forex was inevitable in the South Asian island nation unless expenditure was managed well. Sri Lanka is up to its neck in debt, and though the central bank has said the government has paid $500 million bond that matured this week, more payments are coming due. In the rest of 2022, Sri Lanka needs to repay debt worth $4 billion, with the next tranche of a $1 billion international sovereign bond maturing in July. Official reserves stood at a meager $3.1 billion at the end of December. Reserves were topped up last week via $400 million swap with neighbouring India, and Sri Lanka is negotiating a further $2.5 billion through credit lines from India and Qatar. However, rating agencies have downgraded Sri Lanka multiple times in recent months over concerns of potential debt default. The government has said it is committed to meeting all debt repayments but has ruled out seeking assistance from the International Monetary Fund (IMF).
A tank museum in Afghanistan's Ghazni province has been preserving the remnants of the US military withdrawal from the country after 20 years of conflict with the Taliban. The open-air museum displays military equipment of the US-led NATO forces and also tanks from the time of Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 to 89.
A tank museum in Afghanistan's Ghazni province has been preserving the remnants of the US military defeat and withdrawal from the country after 20 years of conflict with the Taliban. The museum houses damaged military equipment of US-led NATO forces and also tanks left over from the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 to 89. The war in Afghanistan came to an end last August after all international forces withdrew and the Taliban seized power in Kabul, toppling the US-backed government. A Taliban official said the defeat of a so-called superpower by a poor nation was part of Afghanistan's glorious history.
امریکا، برطانیه، پولند، ایساف د مختلفو ملکونو ټانګان تخریب شوي ټانګان موږ د نمایش لپاره د عبرت لپاره د افغانستان د لرغوني تاریخ لپاره امریکایانو، برطانیه او ناټو د ټولو ټانګان تاسې مشاهده کوئ.
The Taliban official said the display will inspire the next generation to defend their country and provide lessons to any country with evil intentions against Afghanistan.
And Nepal's Province No. 2 Assembly on Monday decided to name the province as Madras and Janakpur as the permanent capital after hours of deliberation voted with the majority for the same. Welcoming the move, Janata Samajwadi Party chairperson Upendra Yadav said the sacrifice of Madras people and their dream is reflected in the new name.
Chairperson of JSP Janata Samajwadi Party Upendra Yadav on Monday said that naming Nepal's Province 2 as Madras Province has honoured the Madras movement. The Province No. 2 Assembly decided Monday to name the province as Madras and Janakpur as the permanent capital. Monday's vote exceeded two-thirds of the Assembly's current strength as required by the Constitution. The Madras Province encompasses 8 districts of southern plains in the eastern belt of Nepal. Yadav said the sacrifice of Madras people and their dream is reflected in the naming of the province as Madras. We are happy to have this name for our province. Province 1 and Province 2 had been waiting to finalize their own names for more than 6 years since the Constitution's promulgation in 2015. With Monday's move, the remaining province to be named is Province No. 1.
And moving on, scores of Hindu devotees offered prayers for the salvation of their ancestors on Tuesday near a river bank in India's eastern Gaya city, despite cold wave conditions. The Pinddan ritual is performed throughout the year, but it carries a special importance during the winter month of Magh, according to the Hindu calendar.
Braving the winter chill, scores of Hindu devotees gathered at the banks of Falkur River in India's eastern Gaya city to offer prayers for the salvation of their ancestors on Tuesday. The chilly weather could not prevent devotees from performing rituals for the souls of their ancestors. The Pinddan ritual is performed throughout the year, but it carries a special importance during the auspicious Magh month of Hindu calendar, which falls in January.
तो विधि है जो भी है वो तो करना ही है, जो रस्म है वो तो निभाना ही है, जो पूर्वजों से चला आ रहा है उसको तो साथ लेकर कहीं चलना पड़ता.
Meanwhile, a thick blanket of fog covered Nadan, Prayagraj and Kanpur cities, drastically affecting the visibility early in the morning. A dip in temperature also threw normal life out of gear as people sat around bonfires and wore multiple layers of clothing to keep themselves warm. South Asia's winters are not as cold as other regions such as North America, but the millions of poor here are hit harder because they live in the open and do not have enough warm clothes.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. India reports over 238,000 new COVID-19 infections, active cases highest in 230 days. Pakistan says trial of Chinese traditional medicine for COVID-19 successful. And Sri Lanka looking to attract forex through new policies. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.